A book can take 8 hours to read and still change nothing about your life. That's the uncomfortable truth. You can highlight every page, you can post a quote on your Instagram, you can save the best lines in Notion. You can tell people, this book changed my perspective, and then quietly go back to the same habits, same spending, same distractions, same excuses, same decisions, same life. I know because I've done it for a long time. I confused reading with growth. I thought if I could read more books, I would automatically become wiser, richer, healthier, and more disciplined. But reading does not automatically change your life. Reading gives you contact with better thinking, and that is useful, but it's not transformation. Transformation happens when one idea changes what you do after the book is closed. That is the difference. A lot of people are not readers, they are collectors. They collect highlights, they collect quotes, they collect screenshots, they collect book recommendations, they collect beautiful ideas that never become behavior. And that is dangerous for ambitious people. Because reading feels productive, it feels noble, it feels growth. But sometimes reading becomes procrastination wearing glasses. You read another book about money because you do not want to look at your actual spending. You read another book about habits because you do not want to go for the walk. You read another book about business because you don't want to publish the offer. You read another book about focus while your phone is still sitting beside you like a loaded weapon. That is the reader's illusion. The illusion is thinking that because an idea entered your brain, it has entered your life. It is not. Not yet. So in this video, I want to show you how to read books so they actually change your life. Not so you can impress people with how many books you finished, not so you can sound smart in conversation, but so you can become different. Better decisions, better habits, better money behavior, better health, better focus, better work, better use of AI, better freedom, because the goal is not to be well read. The goal is to be well built. Let's start with the first mistake. Mistake number 1, reading to finish instead of reading to change. Most people read books like they are completing a task. Start the book, finish the book. Mark it as done. Move to the next one. It feels satisfying, but it is the wrong scoreboard. Nobody gets paid in life because they finished chapter 12. Nobody becomes fit because they finished a health book. Nobody becomes wealthy because they finished an investing book. Nobody becomes disciplined because they finished a productivity book. The question is not, did I finish the book? The better question is, what did this book change in how I live? That question makes reading more serious because now the book has to earn its place in your life. Here is the rule I use. One applied idea is worth more than 100 highlighted pages. Wow. Read it again. One applied idea is worth more than 100 highlighted pages. If you read Automatic Habits and install one habit that stays with you for 5 years, that is life-changing. If you read The Psychology of Money and stop buying things just to look successful, that can change your financial future. If you read Deep Work and protect one focused hour every morning, that can change your career. If you read Naval and build one digital asset that works while you sleep, that can change your relationship with time. But if you read 50 books and apply nothing, that is not growth. That is intellectual entertainment. So before opening a book, use what I call the one change rule. Ask for questions. What problem am I trying to solve? What behavior do I want to improve? What decisions do I need help with? What would make this book worth reading? The last question is powerful. What would make this book worth reading? Not impressive, not interesting, worth reading. Because if a book does not change your attention, decisions, behavior standards, then maybe it was entertainment. And that is okay. Not every book has to change your life. But do not confuse entertainment with transformation. When I pick a book now, I try to enter with a specific reason. If I am reading a book about money, am I not just reading to learn? I am reading to find a rule I can use. A rule for saving. A rule for investing. For spending. A rule for avoiding stupidity. If I am reading a book about health, I am looking for behavior. Something I can do at a grocery store, in the kitchen, at the gym, or before sleep. If I am reading a book about work, I am looking for leverage. Can this help me build better systems? Communicate better, create better, think better, use AI better. That shift changes everything. You stop reading like a student trying to pass an exam. Start reading like an investor. Look for the assets. And some ideas are assets. They keep paying you for years. Mistake number 2, reading without a question. The second mistake is reading without a question. This is one of the biggest reasons people forget what they read. They open a book passively. They hope the important ideas will magically stick. But your brain needs a target. If you read without a question, your brain has no target. Imagine walking into a supermarket with no lists while hungry. Everything looks interesting. You live with snacks, random items, and none of the things you actually needed. That is how many people read. They enter the book with no question. So every idea feels equally important. Then nothing gets applied. A better way is to read like a detective. A detective does not enter a room saying, I hope I notice something. A detective enters with a question. What happened here? What matters? What is missing? What explains the pattern? That is how you should read. Before you start, write one primary question. For a wealth book, ask how should this change? How I earn, how I invest, how I spend. For health book, ask what daily behavior should I change? For a wisdom book, ask what mistake does this help me avoid? For a freedom book, ask what can I stop doing? Automate, delegate, or simplify. For a book about AI, ask how can this idea become a system, a prompt, a workflow, or a tool? That last one is important today because AI makes reading more powerful if you use it correctly. You can take a good idea and turn it into a checklist, a prompt, a decision tree, a weekly review, a business workflow, a content system, a health tracker, a personal operating system. But the key is that you must ask the book a question. Questions turn reading from consumption into conversation. For example, if you are reading The Psychology of Money, do not ask, what is this book about? Ask, where am I using money to buy approval? That question makes the book personal. If you are reading Atomic Habits, ask, what environment makes my bad habits easy? Now the book has a job. If you're reading Buffett, ask, am I thinking like an owner or like a gambler? Now the book can expose you. And that is where growth happens. Not when the book confirms what you already believe, but when it shows you what you are avoiding. Mistake number 3. Highlighting too much. The third mistake is highlighting too much. Now, highlighting is not bad. I highlight books too, but highlighting can create the illusion of learning. You see a beautiful sentence, you highlight it. You feel like you captured it. But what did you capture? Usually interest, not change. Highlighting says this is interesting. Capturing says this will change me. That is a big difference. Some people have hundreds of highlights and 0 new behaviors. That is like saving healthy recipes while ordering fast food every night. the collection is not change. So here is a better method. I call it the 3-line capture method. For every useful chapter, write only 3 lines. The idea, the implication, and the action. That's it. Idea, implication, action. What is the point? The implication. What does it matter for my life? The action. What will I do differently? Let's make this concrete. Suppose you read the idea from The Psychology of Money, that wealth is often invisible. Your line capture might look like this. Idea, wealth is often invisible. Implication, looking rich can reduce actual freedom. Action, delay one status purchase this month and invest the difference. That is useful. Now, the idea has teeth. Suppose you read Atomic Habits and learn that environment design beats motivation. Your 3-line, the idea, environment shapes behavior. Implication, my phone beside my bed is not neutral. Action, change my phone outside the bedroom for 7 days. That is how a book becomes behavior. Or suppose you read Naval and learn about leverage. Idea, leverage separates income from hours. Implications, if all my income depends on time, my freedom has a ceiling. Action, create one reusable asset this week. A video, essay, template, checklist, or tool. Now the book is not just sitting in your head, it is changing your week. This is how ambitious people should read. Not to collect wisdom, to convert wisdom. Because wisdom that does not become action slowly becomes decoration. Mistake 4. Reading too many books at the wrong time. The 4th mistake is reading too many books at the wrong time. This one is tricky because reading is good, but more reading is not always better. Sometimes the right book at the right season is more powerful than 20 books consumed randomly. There are seasons when your problem is not lack of knowledge, your problem is lack of execution. And if execution is the bottleneck, another book may not help. It may just delay the uncomfortable action. This is why I like the bottleneck method. Before choosing your next book, ask, what is my current bottleneck? Is it money? Is it health, focus, confidence, skill, discipline, meaning, strategy? Then choose the book that solves that bottleneck. If your finances are chaotic, you probably do not need an advanced investing book yet. You need a book that helps you build basic money behavior. If your habits are inconsistent, you do not read 10 books on peak performance. Read one book on habits and apply one system. If you are distracted, do not read another book about success. Fix your attention. If you feel lost, maybe you do not need a productivity book. Maybe you need a book about meaning. If you want more freedom, maybe you need books about leverage, entrepreneurship, media, AI, systems, or investing. The best book is not the most famous book. It is the book that meets your current weakness. That line matters. The best book is not the most famous book. It is the book that meets your current weakness. For ambitious people, this is important because we often read aspirationally. We read books for the person we want to look like. But sometimes we need to read books for the problem we are actually facing. There is a difference between a person drowning in debt may want to read about venture capital, but a useful book might be about budgeting, behavior, and discipline. A creator who has not published 20 videos may want to read about scaling a media empire, but a useful book might be about consistency and storytelling. A professional who is burned out may want to read about becoming a millionaire, but a useful book might be about boundaries, health, and designing a life with margin. Read for that bottleneck in your life, not the fantasy. That is how book become timely. And timing matters. An average book at the right moment can change your life. A great book at the wrong moment can pass through like water. Mistake number 5. not turning books into systems. The fifth mistake is not turning books into systems. That is where most reading dies. You get inspired, you feel motivated, you think I should do that, then life gets busy. That idea fades. The book goes back on the shelf. Nothing changes. The problem is not the idea was weak. The problem is that the idea had no structure. A book becomes powerful when it stops being an idea and becomes a system. That is the line. A book becomes powerful when it stops being idea and becomes a system. So after reading anything useful, ask, can this become a checklist? Can this become a weekly review question? Can this become a daily habit? Can this become a financial rule? Can this become an AI prompt? Can this become a default setting in my environment? Let's use examples from Atomic Habits. Do not just say habits matter. Turn it into a system. The workout clothes beside your bed, the phone outside the bedroom, 2-minute version of habit, the habit tracker on the wall. That is the system. From the psychology of money, do not just say wealth is invisible. Turn it into a financial rule. Before any major purchase, wait 7 to 2 hours and ask, will this give me freedom or pressure? That is a system. From deep work, do not just say focus matters. Do not just say focus matters. Turn it into a calendar. Block 90-minute distraction-free session before messages. That is a system. From Naval, do not just say leverage matters. Turn it into a weekly action. Create one asset every week that can scale without your constant presence. An essay, a video, a template, a digital product, a workflow. That is a system. From Charlie Munger, do not just say mental models are useful. Turn it into a decision checklist. What are the incentives? What could go wrong? What would change my mind? What is the second order effect? That is a system. This is the real work of reading. The book gives you raw material. You build the machine. The R.E.A.D system. Now let's put everything into one simple system. I call it R.E.A.D or read. R, reason. E, extract. A, apply. D, distill. First, reason. Before you read, know why you are reading. Do not pick a book just because everyone online says it's changed their life. Ask, what problem am I solving? What season am I in? What decision am I facing? What skill am I building? What weakness am I addressing? That gives a book a mission. Second, extract. Do not capture everything. Capture what is useful. Use the 3-line capture method. The idea, the implication, and the action. The goal is not to build a museum of notes. The goal is to extract tools for a living. Third, apply. Choose one idea and practice it for 30 days. And at 10, ideas. 1 financial rule. 1 habit. 1 decision. 1 checklist. 1 AI workflow. 1 health behavior. 1 focus block. 1 relationship practice. 1 constraint. 1 idea applied long enough to become real. This is where most people fail because applying 1 idea feels slower than consuming 10 more. But that is the trick. Consumption feels fast. Transformation is slower. But transformation is what actually compounds. Fourth, distill. Teach the idea. Review it. Simplify it. Make it yours. You can write a short note. Record a voice memo. Explain it to a friend. Turn it into a checklist. Use AI to quiz you. And add it to your weekly review. Because if you cannot explain an idea simply, you probably have not fully digested it. And if you never review it, you may lose it. So the system is simple. Reason, extract, apply, distill. That is how you read books so they actually change your life. If you like this video, enjoy it, you learn something, even only 1 idea, I invite you to like this video. And of course, subscribe to my channel. And I also write a newsletter. I create ideas that I learned to help us achieve freedom and health, wealth, in fitness, making good decisions, and living our life to the fullest. If you like that, to receive that newsletter for free, just visit kevinumali.com/free, and see you there, and see you on my next video. Just hit the like button, the notification bell, subscribe to this channel, and see you.